The Grand Galactic Council Hall was the heart of the known galaxy. The structure floated in the middle of a quiet star system, far from any world, so that no single species could claim ownership. It was said the hall was older than most of the civilizations in the council, built by the first group of worlds that had chosen peace over endless war. Its great silver dome stretched high above, reflecting the light of 3 nearby suns, and the walls shimmered with moving colors, shifting slowly like the tides of a distant sea. Inside the hall, a single table ran from one end to the other. It was carved from crystal mined from the moon of a forgotten world, so clear and perfect that it seemed almost invisible. Around it sat the delegates from dozens of worlds. Some were tall and thin like living reeds, others short and strong with skin like stone. Some had scales that caught the light, others soft fur or smooth shells. Their shapes were as different as their worlds. Yet all had come here to decide the future of the galaxy. At one end of the table sat the human delegation. They wore dark uniforms without ornament, their only decoration a small symbol of Earth. On the shoulder, there were 5 of them, but every movement, every breath, carried a weight that made them seem more. In the center was Captain Rena, the chief representative of Earth. Her eyes were calm but alert, watching the room the way a soldier watches a battlefield. The air in the hall was thick with tension. The council had gathered to vote on a matter that had been whispered about for months but never spoken in full until now. At the other end of the table, a tall alien with skin like polished copper stood. His voice was deep and clear. The council, he began, has decided that the human delegation will no longer hold a vote in our decisions. You may remain as observers, but you will not guide our laws or our fleets. Your ways are dangerous to the stability we have worked so hard to keep. Murmurs filled the air. Some delegates nodded. Others looked uneasy. A few avoided the humans. Gaze entirely, Rena did not speak at first. She sat still, listening, her hands resting lightly on the crystal table. The silence from her and her team was like a weight pressing down on the hall. The copper-skinned speaker continued, listing reasons: human military strength, their willingness to act quickly, their history of taking risks that others would not. He claimed the council needed a slower, more careful path, one that humans had never followed. When he was done, the hall waited. Everyone knew the humans had earned their place in the council through action, not words. Without them, the council might never have survived the Great Pirate War or the border conflicts that had threatened trade for decades. But today, those victories were being set aside. Finally, Rena rose to her feet. Her chair slid back quietly. The sound barely heard over the hum of the hall's air system. She looked at each delegate in turn, her gaze steady and unreadable. Earth has stood at this table for 30 years, she said. Her voice was calm, but it carried across the vast room without effort. We have fought beside you, bled beside you, and buried our dead beside yours. We have protected worlds that could not protect themselves. We have held the line when no one else would. She paused, letting the words settle. And now, she continued, you tell us we are too dangerous, that our way is too quick, too direct, that we make you uneasy. Perhaps that is true, but it is also why this council still exists. Without action, without risk, there would be no hall, no table, no peace for us to speak of. Some delegates shifted uncomfortably. A reptilian representative tapped his claws against the table, his tail curling tight. Rena's eyes softened, but her voice did not. We have always respected the vote of this council, even when we disagreed, even when we knew it would cost U.S. lives. We came here because we believed in unity. We believed in something greater than our own world. Then her tone grew colder. If you believe that our presence here is a danger, if you believe we should be silent, then we will not sit at this table as ornaments. We will not lend our presence to a unity that no longer exists in truth. The hall grew still. No one interrupted. Rena turned to her team. We are done here, she said simply. Without a word, the other humans stood. Their movements were sharp and in sync, as if they had rehearsed this moment. The sound of their boots, striking the polished floor, echoed through the chamber. Step by step, They walked the length of the hall toward the great double doors. Some delegates called out, telling them to reconsider. Others stayed silent, their faces pale or hidden. The humans did not look back. When they reached the doors, they opened without a sound, revealing the long bridge that led to the docking ring. Light from the nearest sun spilled in, casting the humans in gold for a brief moment before they stepped through. The doors closed behind them with a deep, final thud. The copper-skinned speaker remained standing, his earlier confidence fading. Around the table, voices rose in confusion and argument. Some demanded the council call the humans back. Others insisted the decision had been right. But beneath every voice was the same unspoken thought. What would happen now that the humans had left? In that moment, the galaxy shifted. No one could yet see how. But they all felt it. The humans were gone from the table, and the hall, which had always felt secure, now seemed just a little too quiet. The walk from the Grand Council Hall to the human docking bay was long and silent. The wide bridge stretched above the stars, its transparent walls showing the glow of 3 suns in the distance. Below, the great silver hulls of hundreds of ships gleamed. Delegates and staff who passed the humans gave them quick, uncertain glances. Some looked away entirely, as if afraid to be seen speaking to them. Captain Rena led the way, her boots striking the polished floor in a steady rhythm. Her team followed closely, each step measured, each movement calm. On the surface they looked unshaken, but every one of them knew what this walk meant. The decision the council had made was not just a political insult, it was a shift in the balance of the galaxy. Before they reached the docking ring, a voice called out behind them, "Captain Rena." They stopped and turned. Walking quickly to catch up was Elder Merrick, one of the few council members who had often sided with Earth. He was a tall, thin figure with pale blue skin and deep-set eyes that always seemed tired. His robes flowed around him as he approached, but his expression was not the calm mask he usually wore. "Walk with me," Merrick said. Lowering his voice, Rena hesitated, then nodded. Her team slowed their pace, letting the two of them move a little ahead. "You know this was not my will," Merrick began. "I argued against the motion until the end, but the others—" He shook his head. "Fear makes minds small. They see your strength, and they think of danger. They do not understand that it is that same strength which has kept the peace for so long." Rena looked at him without anger. "We warned them before. We told them that unity is not made of words alone. It must be defended. But they believe. Stability comes from slow talk and no action." Merrick sighed. "Many worlds have grown used to safety. They have forgotten how fragile it is. They think the storms will never return simply because the skies are clear today." Rena's voice was low, but steady. "Then they will learn. We will not beg to stay. Earth will not lend its presence to a council that chooses comfort over truth." They walked in silence for a few moments, the hum of the station's systems filling the air. "You should know," Merrick said quietly. "There are already powers watching your departure. Pirates will be bold again. Rival empires will see a chance to take what they want. The Council's fleets are slow to move. Without you, I fear what will come." Rena stopped walking. She faced him fully. "Then carry this message to the Council," she said. "Tell them that Earth is not abandoning the galaxy. We will stand where we must. But we will no longer answer to those who cannot act if they choose weakness. They must accept the cost of it." Merrick studied her face for a moment, then gave a slow nod. "I will deliver your words, but I fear they will not listen until the fires have already started." "They always wait for the fire," Rena said, "and then they wonder why the flames spread." Merrick's gaze softened. "If the day comes when we call for you, will you return?" Rena did not answer at once. She looked past him, out at the endless stars beyond the bridge. "That depends on what they have become by then," she said at last. "If they find their courage, perhaps there will be something worth returning to." Merrick inclined his head in respect, then stepped aside. "Farewell, Captain, whatever comes. Know that not all in the council wanted this." Rena gave him a brief nod, then continued toward the docking bay. Her team waited at the airlock of their shuttle, the ship's hull gleaming under the soft station lights. The human insignia was bold on its side, a blue and white emblem that had been carried into battles across the stars. Inside the shuttle, the crew strapped in for departure. The pilot, a calm-faced man named Tomas, glanced back from his seat. Orders, Captain? Rena took her chair and looked at the viewport ahead. The docking clamps released with a heavy thud, and the shuttle drifted free into open space beyond. The fleet of human ships stood waiting, sleek, dark vessels with bright running lights, their shapes sharp and purposeful. Take us to the flagship, Rena said. We will speak to the fleet, then set course for home. As the shuttle moved between the massive human warships, Rena opened a secure channel to all captains. Her voice carried across the comms, reaching crews spread across the formation. This is Captain Rena. Today, the Council has voted to silence Earth's voice in their hall. They believe we are too quick to act, too willing to take risks. They fear our methods, and so they choose to stand without us. We have walked away from their table with our heads high. We do not beg for a seat we have earned many times over. She paused, letting her words settle. From this day forward, we answer to no one but our own people and our allies. We will protect what is ours. We will aid those who stand with us. But we will no longer be bound by the slow hands of the Council. The Galaxy will soon learn that peace is not kept by words alone. It is kept by those willing to act when others will not. There was silence for a moment. Then her comms filled with voices of agreement. Some spoke of pride. Others swore their loyalty. The sound was steady, strong, and it filled the cabin with a quiet sense of resolve. The shuttle docked with the flagship, a towering vessel named Sentinel. Its dark armor caught the light of the suns as it turned toward the jump point. Inside the command deck, Rena stood before the great star map, watching the galaxy's countless systems spin slowly in the projection. She knew Merrick's warning was true. Trouble would come. The galaxy had lived under the quiet shield of human fleets for decades. Without them, there would be tests the Council was not ready for. But this was no longer her concern. At least, not officially. For now, Earth would watch. And when the time came, when the galaxy realized the price of pushing humans aside, they would see that Earth had never been the problem. The problem had been thinking peace could survive without those willing to fight for it. The stars stretched before them, endless and waiting. Set course for Sol, Rena ordered. The fleet turned as one, engines flaring bright, and the humans left the Council's shining hull behind. The human fleet moved through space like a shadow of steel and light. Each ship held its place with perfect precision. The distance between them measured down to the meter. The flagship Sentinel led the formation, its dark hull reflecting the distant suns round it. Cruisers, carriers, and smaller escorts formed a moving wall that could break through almost any defense. From the bridge of Sentinel, Captain Rena watched the stars drift past. The Council station was already far behind, a bright dot in the black, fading with every second. Around her, the crew worked in silence, the hum of systems filling the air. It was not the silence of fear, but the silence of people who understood the weight of the moment. They had just walked away from the heart of galactic politics. No other species had done such a thing before. Not willingly. The Council had removed their voice, and the humans had answered by removing their presence entirely. It was a decision that could not be undone easily, and every person aboard knew it would have consequences. Rena's eyes stayed fixed on the forward display. She could still hear the heavy thud of the Council Hall's great doors closing behind her team. It had not been the sound of defeat. It had been the sound of a door closing on an old chapter. Her second in command, Commander Varen, stepped up beside her. He was broad-shouldered, with dark eyes that missed nothing. The fleet reports all systems ready. We will reach the Sol Gate in 8 hours. Rena nodded. And the civilian transports? Keeping formation. They're still uneasy, Captain. Many of the crew have families on station worlds. They wonder what this will mean for them. Rena understood. Many humans had made lives far from Earth, living among alien worlds as traders, engineers, and teachers. Some would be welcomed still, but others might find the air colder now that the Council had turned its back. She spoke quietly. They will know soon enough, but we will not abandon them. Varen gave a firm nod and returned to the station. Across the fleet, comm channels carried messages between ships. Some were brief, confirming orders. Others were more personal, old friends exchanging words now that they were leaving the Council's protection. There was pride in the voices, but also an edge of uncertainty. 8 hours later, the fleet reached the Soul Gate, a vast ring of metal and light suspended in the void. It was one of the largest human-made structures in the galaxy, built to send ships across unimaginable distances in seconds. Its arcs hummed with power as they prepared for the incoming fleet. Transmit identification, Rena ordered. A moment later, the gate's control AI replied in its calm, synthetic voice. Fleet recognized. Clearance granted. Welcome home. Sentinel. The lead ships began to move through the ring, vanishing into the blue-white glow of the jump field. On the far side waited the Sol system, Earth's own star. One by one, the vessels crossed, their hulls shimmering in the light dot as Sentinel entered the jump. The view outside shifted. The black of space bent into swirling blue, stars stretching like lines of light. Then, with a sudden flare, the ship emerged into the familiar golden glow of Sol. Ahead lay Earth, a small blue world turning slowly beneath white clouds. The sight drew a murmur from the bridge crew. No matter how far they traveled, no matter how many worlds they had seen, Earth always carried a weight unlike any other. Home, someone whispered. But there was no time to linger. The fleet moved into defensive formation, carriers taking position above the orbital docks while escorts patrolled the perimeter. Civilian transports began to break away toward Earth, Mars, and the great stations that circled the system. Rena stood at the center of the bridge, her gaze still fixed on the planet. Signal command, she said. Inform them the fleet is home, and that we are operating independently from this point forward. The message was sent across secure lines. Somewhere deep beneath Earth's surface, in the command chambers of fleet headquarters, generals and admirals would be hearing it now. As the fleet settled into its new positions, Rena ordered a conference of all captains. The holotable in the Sentinel strategy room lit up, projecting the faces of every commanding officer in the fleet. We have left the Council. Rena began, her voice steady. That means we stand alone. We will maintain our own defense, networks, our own supply lines, and our own alliances. The Council will expect us to retreat inward. They will expect us to grow cautious. They are wrong. She tapped the control, and the holo shifted to display the galaxy. Red markers glowed across several sectors, regions where human patrols had already withdrawn. These are the places that will break first, she said. The Council will take weeks to respond to any crisis. By then, damage will be done. We will monitor them, but we will not intervene unless our people or our allies are threatened. We will let the Council see what their decision costs. Some captains nodded grimly. Others looked uneasy but said nothing. Our strength is not only in ships or weapons. Rena continued. It is in our willingness to act. That is what they feared, and that is what they will miss when trouble comes. We will be ready when it does. The meeting ended, and the captains returned to their duties. In the quiet that followed, Rena walked alone to the observation deck. Through the great window, Earth filled half the view, its blue oceans glinting in the sunlight. Somewhere down there were cities filled with people who had no idea how much had changed in the last day. Varen joined her, standing silently for a moment before speaking. You think they'll call us back? Rena's eyes stayed on the planet. Not yet. They will hold to their pride until they have no choice, and by then, the galaxy may be very different. Do we want them to call us back? Varen asked. That depends on the kind of galaxy we want to live in, Rena said, and on whether they remember who we are. The sun dipped lower behind the curve of the Earth, and the lights of the fleet shimmered in the dark above the planet. The humans had left the table, but the galaxy had not yet felt the full weight of what that meant. For now, they would watch. They would wait, and when the moment came, they would be ready. The first weeks after the human departure were quiet. To the Council and the worlds that supported their decision, it almost felt like nothing had changed. Trade ships still moved along the main routes. Markets on core worlds still open each morning. Messages still passed through the comm relays as they always had. Some delegates even told themselves that removing Earth from the Council had been the right choice. But far from the bright core worlds, things began to shift. It started in the border systems, where human patrol fleets had once been a constant presence without those fast, sharp warships moving through the lanes. Smaller powers saw a chance to test their strength. In the Halric Belt, pirates attacked a convoy from the trade world Lyrith. Before, a human cruiser stationed nearby would have arrived within hours to stop them. Now, the Council's nearest defense force took 5 days to respond. By then, the pirates were gone, and so was the cargo. In the Calorie sector, the neighboring colonies reignited a dispute over mining rights. The argument had been settled years earlier by human mediators, but with the humans gone, old grudges returned. Skirmishes broke out on the asteroid fields. The Council sent a message urging peace, but without someone to enforce it, the fighting continued. On the core worlds, news of these events spread in fragments. Official Council channels called them isolated incidents. Yet independent traders and captains told a different story. They spoke of routes growing more dangerous, of systems where ships now travel in groups for safety, of ports where the law seemed weaker with each passing day. Back on Earth, Captain Rena followed every report. The Sentinel's intelligence network stretched across the galaxy, with allies and informants in many places. Her command center displayed star maps marked with red zones, areas where trouble was spreading. Commander Varen stood beside her at the table, his arms folded. It is happening faster than we expected. Without our patrols, these sectors are exposed. Rena's voice was calm. The Council thought peace would hold itself together. They were wrong. Now they will see what our presence meant. Varen glanced at her. And what will we do when the Council calls for help? We will decide then. She said, for now, we watch. If our people or our allies are threatened, we will act. But we will not shield the Council from the results of their own choice. In the weeks that followed, the incidents grew worse. A major freighter carrying medical supplies to the world of Thallon vanished in open space. Investigators later found wreckage drifting near a debris field. The crew was gone. No one claimed responsibility, but Rena suspected the work of the Crimson Blades, a pirate clan that humans had once driven into hiding. Then came the attack on the station world of Drosia. A fleet of unknown raiders struck its outer docks, looting fuel reserves and destroying half the station's defense grid before fleeing. The Council condemned the attack in strong words but sent no ships, claiming their fleets were needed elsewhere. The people of Drosia began sending direct pleas to Earth, asking for help. Rena refused the first requests. She knew that if humans acted too quickly, the Council would not feel the full weight of their mistake. Still, it was not easy to turn away from those in need. The crew of the Sentinel trained to move at the first sign of danger found them waiting hard to bear. One night, Rena stood alone on the observation deck, looking out at the scattered lights of the human fleet. She thought of Merrick's words before they left the Council Hall. He had warned her that fear would spread quickly. He had been right. A quiet voice broke her thoughts. Captain. She turned to see Tomas, the Sentinel's pilot, standing at the doorway. I have family on a mining world near the Halric Belt, he said. They sent me a message. Pirates have been spotted in their sector. The Council has not sent anyone. Rena looked at him for a long moment. And you want us to go? Yes, Tomas said. But I know the orders. Watch, wait, do not act unless we must. I just needed you to know. She nodded slowly. I do know. And when the time comes, we will move. The time came sooner than expected. Only 3 days later, a convoy carrying refugees from the Calorie conflict sent out a distress call. Raiders had intercepted them in deep space. They had no escorts, no weapons to defend themselves. The message reached both the Council and Earth at the same time. The Council began a discussion on how to respond. That discussion lasted for hours. The humans took 20 minutes. Rena stood on the bridge of the Sentinel, the order already given. Fleet, set intercept course, maximum speed. We are moving to protect civilians in danger. Engines flared across the human formation as they broke from their defensive positions around Sol. The ships stretched into a long arrow of light, their jump drives burning toward the distant convoy. When they arrived, the raiders were circling the refugee ships like predators. Without warning, the human fleet struck. Sleek destroyers cut into the enemy formation, weapons precise and controlled. The raiders scattered, but the Sentinel and her escorts pressed forward, disabling engines and forcing surrender. Not one refugee ship was lost. Afterward, the survivors sent messages of thanks to Earth. The Council, on the other hand, released a statement condemning unauthorized military action in their territory. Rena read the statement in silence, then set it aside. "We will not argue with them," she told Varen. "The people we saved know who came. That is enough." In the quiet that followed, the crew of the Sentinel returned to their watch. More trouble was coming, they could feel it, and somewhere, in the vast council hall, delegates were beginning to realize that the galaxy without humans was not the safe place they had imagined. The galaxy was changing, and so were the humans. Since leaving the council, Earth had not stayed silent. They had simply chosen a different table, one of their own making. Captain Rena sat in the strategy room of the Sentinel, the large holomap glowing in the dim light. It showed a web of worlds, stations, and outposts. Some were old human allies. Others were small independent systems that had never joined the council. All had something in common: they valued action over long speeches. Varen stood beside her, watching as she marked new points on the map. "Another world has agreed to the trade pact," he said. The Tronless system, they were on the edge of council territory, ignored for years. They're eager for help. Rena nodded. "Send them the first shipment of medical supplies and a defense team. We'll train their patrol crews." This was the human way now. Instead of waiting for the council to notice a world's problems, they went directly to them. Instead of demanding long agreements, they offered help quickly and without heavy conditions. It earned them loyalty far faster than the council ever could. In the last month, 6 new systems had joined their network. It was not an empire, they made sure of that. Each world kept its own laws, its own way of life. But they all knew that if trouble came, human ships would arrive. The council called it dangerous. They said Earth was building a shadow alliance, a rival to their authority. In a way, they were right. But Rena knew this was not about rivalry, it was about survival. The galaxy was too unstable for long debates. One of their newest partners, the mining world of Run, had already seen the difference. Weeks earlier, a group of raiders had targeted its convoys. Within hours of Run sending a message to Earth, a human frigate had arrived and chased the attackers off. The people of Run sent not just thanks, but a promise they would stand with Earth if the need came. On the council's public channels, some delegates spoke with growing anger about Earth's actions. Others, though they would not admit it openly, began to see the value of the human way. There were whispers in the hall that perhaps Earth's departure had been a mistake. Meanwhile, on the edge of known space, the Sentinel prepared for a new mission. Reports had reached them of a small colony world, Vestra, that was under threat from a warlord named Jorok. Vestra was not part of the council, nor had it ever been allied with Earth, but they had sent a desperate message after hearing stories of human intervention in other systems. Rena called her senior officers to the briefing room. The holomap shifted to show Vestra green oceans, wide plains, and a population of only 3 million. Round it, Jorok's fleet moved like a storm. "Council forces will not respond," Varen reported. "They claim Vestra is outside their responsibility. Jorok will reach them in 4 days." Rena studied the map. "And if we intervene, we make another enemy," Varen said. "Jorok has friends in the council. They will use this against us." Rena's eyes narrowed. "And if we do nothing, a free world falls. That is not who we are." The officers nodded. They all knew the answer before she spoke it. "Prepare the fleet," Rena ordered. "We leave at once." 3 days later, the human formation dropped out of jump space above Vestra. Below, the colony's cities shimmered in the sunlight. Above, Jorok's warships were already in orbit, their weapons charging. Human ships moved without hesitation. The Sentinel took the lead, its shields flaring as enemy fire struck. Destroyers flanked the enemy formation, forcing them to turn and divide their fire. In less than an hour, Jorik's fleet was in retreat, their drives damaged and their morale broken. On Vestra's surface, people filled the streets, watching the human ships pass overhead. Messages of thanks poured into the Sentinel. In a single day, Vestra signed a pact with Earth, pledging mutual defense. Later, on the bridge, Varen spoke quietly to Rena. Another ally, another promise. The Council will see this as proof that we are building something to rival them. Let them see it. Rena said, "We do not build for rivalry. We build for the ones they will not protect." News of the Vestra rescue spread quickly. Traders carried the story from port to port in Council territory. The tale grew with each telling. Some said the human fleet had appeared from nowhere. Others claimed Rena had faced Jorik herself in single combat. Whatever the truth, the effect was the same. The legend of the human way was growing. But legends brought attention, and attention brought danger. On the council floor, certain factions began pushing for sanctions against Earth. They called the human network a destabilizing force. In private, however, some of their own worlds quietly sent feelers toward Earth, wondering if they too might receive faster help outside council rules. Rena knew the balance could not last forever. Sooner or later, the council would try to limit them. Sooner or later, someone would test how far humans were willing to go. One evening, as the Sentinel cruised through open space, Rena stood with Varen at the viewport. The stars stretched endlessly before them. "You think we're ready for what comes next?" Varen asked. Rena gave a faint smile. "We're humans. We never wait to be ready. We prepare while we move." The Sentinel sailed on, carrying the weight of new promises, new friends, and the knowledge that the galaxy was watching. The human way was not slow, and it was not safe. But it was working, and for those who had no other hope, that was enough. The galaxy was unraveling. Without humans at the council table, the fragile peace began to crack like thin ice under a heavy step. Old rivalries, long held back by the quiet strength of human fleets, resurfaced with sudden force. Worlds that had once shared trade and friendship now eyed each other with suspicion. Borders that were stable for decades became battlegrounds again. On the core world of Solus, the council's representatives gathered, their faces tight with worry. The great Silver Hall, once a place of calm and discussion, echoed with raised voices and angry accusations. The decision to remove Earth had seemed right to some at first, but now many feared it was a mistake that might cost them dearly. Ambassador Drell, a tall figure with dark green skin and eyes sharp as a hawk, slammed his fist on the table. "Without humans to hold us, we are falling apart. Pirates grow bolder by the day. Trade routes are closing. If we do not act soon, the galaxy will be consumed by war." Others shook their heads. "We cannot invite Earth back. Their methods are reckless. They act without waiting for council approval. If we return to them now, we lose control." The council was divided. Some called for renewed talks with Earth. Others demanded stronger fleets to police the chaos. But without the human speed and willingness to act, nothing moved fast enough. Far from the council chambers, across the star lanes, battles erupted. In the Vetra sector, a group of planets fought over mineral rights. What had started as diplomatic disagreements turned into full-scale warships exchanging fire in orbit. The human patrol ships, once a calming presence, were nowhere to be seen. On the mining world of Krallis, civilians fled burning cities. Refugees crowded spaceports, desperate for ships that could take them to safety. But the council fleets were stretched thin, slow to respond, and unwilling to commit without a full vote. Meanwhile, Earth's fleet watched from afar. They did not interfere in the fighting unless their own or allied systems were attacked. Captain Rena stood in the command room of the Sentinel, watching reports flood in from across the galaxy. The red zones on the star map spread like wildfire. Every day brought news of new skirmishes, of lost trade, and of growing fear. Commander Varen leaned close. "The council is losing control. They are desperate, but their hands are tied." Rena nodded. "Their rules bind them. Our absence is their problem now. But our allies suffer too. Varen said quietly. The systems we protect are not safe forever. Rena's eyes hardened. We will defend them, but we cannot be everywhere at once, elsewhere. In a hidden base near the edge of Council space, warlords and pirate lords gathered. The news of the Council's weakness spread fast. Some smirked, believing the Galaxy's order had come to an end. Jorak, the warlord who had once attacked Vestra, raised his glass. The humans are gone. The Council is weak. The time to claim power is now. His followers cheered. Back on the Sentinel, Rena called a meeting with her officers. We cannot stop every fight, but we can choose which battles matter most. She pointed to the star map, where a series of red blips marked areas of heavy conflict. We will strengthen our defenses around our allies. We will send patrols to the most vulnerable. And we will prepare for the day when the Council asks for help. The officers nodded, their faces set with determination. Days later, a message arrived from the Council. It was an official request for negotiation, a chance to reopen talks with Earth. But the tone was cautious, almost fearful. Rena studied the message and turned to Varen. They want us back, but on their terms. Varen shook his head. They do not understand us. They want us to surrender our way. Rena's jaw tightened. We will respond, but only if they show they are ready to change. If they want peace, they must be willing to act, not just talk. The Council was on the edge of collapse, but it still held power. The Galaxy's future depended on whether it could find a way to include humanity once again, or if it would break into chaos. Rena looked out at the stars, the endless points of light stretching before her. The humans had abandoned the table, but now the Galaxy was watching what they would do next. The spiral of war and peace was only beginning. The Galaxy waited with bated breath. The years since Earth had left the Council were filled with chaos and fear. Old alliances shattered. Trade routes closed, and small wars broke out like wildfires. The Council, once the voice of peace, was now a place of broken promises and endless arguments. Yet, despite everything, the humans had not forgotten the Galaxy. Captain Rena stood on the bridge of the Sentinel, her eyes sharp and steady. The human fleet had grown stronger, faster, and more skilled. Their network of allies stretched across systems untouched by the Council's slow rules. But now, a new threat had appeared, one that no Council fleet could face alone. Reports came from the edge of known space. A dark fleet, unlike anything seen before, had entered the Galaxy. Ships moved silently, striking with precision and vanishing before help could arrive. Entire systems had fallen under their control. The Council was paralyzed. Its leaders blamed each other. Calls for help came to Earth. Rena listened to the messages with growing concern. The Council wanted the humans back, but they also demanded control. They feared the strength and speed of human action. But Earth was no longer the same. In the war room, Rena gathered her senior officers. This shadow fleet is the true test, she said. If we wait, more worlds will fall. If we act, we risk war with the Council. But there is no choice. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves. The officers nodded in agreement. The Sentinel and its fleet jumped into the dark sectors where the shadow fleet operated. There, among cold stars, the humans found destruction and silence. Planets were empty, stations abandoned. The Shadow Fleet's power was real and dangerous. The first battle was fierce. The Shadow ships moved like ghosts, striking from unexpected directions. But the humans fought with determination and skill. The Sentinel's weapons cut through enemy shields, while smaller ships blocked attacks and saved their own. After the fight, Rena sent a message to the Council. We have fought the darkness. We stand ready to fight with you, but only if you respect that we will act swiftly and decisively. The Council replied with hesitation. Some agreed, others resisted. While politics raged, the humans continued their campaign. Each battle pushed the Shadow Fleet back, slowly. Hope returned to worlds long forgotten. On Earth, people watched news feeds showing human ships defending distant stars. Pride swelled in their hearts. The decision to leave the Council had been painful, but now they saw it was necessary. One night, Rena stood on the observation deck, Looking at the stars, Commander Varen joined her quietly. "Do you think the Council will ever trust us again?" he asked. Rena smiled softly. "Trust is earned, not given. We have earned it by standing when others could not. But the price," Varen said, "the galaxy has suffered." Rena's gaze hardened. "Peace is never free. But if we do not stand strong, there will be no peace at all." In the council chambers, change was coming. The Shadow Fleet's threat forced old enemies to reconsider. A new council formed, one willing to work with Earth, not against it. Finally, after years of silence, Earth was invited back to the table, not as a subject to be controlled, but as a leader to be respected. Captain Rena received the message in her quarters. She read it slowly, then stood and looked at the stars once more. "We walked away to protect what mattered," she said softly. "Now we return to help rebuild. But we will never be silent again." The human fleet moved toward the council station, ready to take their place once more. This time, not as followers, but as the protectors of the galaxy's fragile peace. The table was no longer a place of fear. It was a place of strength. And the galaxy watched in hope.